I brought snacks because, well, I don't know. I don't have an answer. Hungry, I guess. I make my own trail mix because raisins should be illegal in the United States. If you guys want me to present my claim in front of the court and you guys have my back, then we're good. Welcome. I hope your guys' days are dope as shit. Genuinely. This is kind of annoying, right? Just a little bit, but I'll try to eat slower. So, I'm kind of like the new leading voice on relationships these days, I guess. By the way, no one told me that, but I just signed myself up for that. So I'm a self-proclaimed dating coach now, which is fine because I can be whatever I want to be. When I was young, they said, hey, you want to be an astronaut? Go to space. Well, they said like, go be an astronaut. And then like, I meant like, go do it, you know what I mean? You want to be a professional baseball player? Well, too bad, little Jimmy, you get benched every game. So, I'm kidding, I should go be a baseball player. M&M's definitely make trail mix unhealthy. And then I add pretzels. This quickly goes from a healthy snack to a really unhealthy snack. Is it a snack if I eat it all day? Back to what I was saying. If I want to be a dating coach, because I feel like I have the knowledge, then I'm going to be. Now, some of you guys would say, well, why would we listen to you if your relationship just failed? Well, first of all, that's f***ed up. Hey, some of you guys might have been thinking it, and I called you out on it. Hey! This is my third big-time relationship. This one was the longest I've ever been in, I think. We're about to come up on 3 years. And B, if I were to take advice from anyone, I would take advice from people who have failed more than people who have failed less. Now, there are... Hold up. There is a little bit of a but there. Obviously, it has to be someone that's learned from their mistakes and has also found some success. As you guys know, my last relationship did fail in the grand scheme of things, but it was great for 2 years and some change. And a lot of change. 2 years and almost a whole nother $1. Listen, it's kind of hard to listen when I'm eating. You guys don't need to listen to me. This is not me forcing you to listen to me anyway. This is just me putting my advice out there for people that either in a relationship, just got out of a relationship, or never want to date a person ever again. Like, that's a lie. I don't know why you'd watch this video if that's your thing. But I'm going to give you guys some dating advice today. Again, it's going to both combine what I have found works well in a relationship, things to look out for, things to work on when you're in a relationship, bad signs, good signs, which is not my place to speak on. I should probably get these out of the video because I'm going to eat them all. And if a relationship goes wrong, what to learn, what to take from it so that you can implement that in your next relationship. Now, don't think I'm turning into like the next Harry Jowsey here, okay? This is a one-time thing. I'm not a love doctor. I have other things to worry about. I just feel like at this point in my life, I know so much. I've learned so much. Every relationship, my knowledge of what I want, what I'm looking for gets sharper. And right now, we're like a fucking Japanese sushi knife. You know what I mean? We're pretty sharp. I'm gonna stop eating these. Yeah. Wait, I need an almond. Hat's going backwards. Hello? It's about to go down. Let's start from out. Let me start from the beginning of a theoretical relationship. Something already off the bat that I've learned that I was actually just talking about the other day. Every relationship usually starts with what we like to call a honeymoon phase. Now, not all relationships start that way. Me and my recent ex, I'm sure you guys know who it is, didn't really have that big of that phase. The relationship matured really quickly and it was like, there was so much natural comfort there. There wasn't a lot of discomfort, like uncomfortability, right? That could be a word. Where you feel uncomfortable around someone, and that can sort of dictate how you act around that person, and that in turn can kind of result in some sort of honeymoon phase. You know, you're just getting to know each other. There's certain things you won't do in front of each other. You are extra nice. You're putting an extra effort to the relationship. Everything is butterflies, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you develop so much comfort with a person, it just becomes kind of natural. Getting out of the honeymoon phase, or as I like to say, sometimes continuing on and maturing that phase, can happen sometimes even quicker. Now, in my past relationship, it was kind of like that. So my first two relationships, I had a honeymoon phase pretty strong. The main part of that phase lasted a year, and then the goal, which I'll talk about, is like, you never really want to get out of the honeymoon phase. If you can continue the honeymoon phase forever, what you want to do is mature that phase, because the bottom line is you are going to start acting a different way. You're going to become really comfortable with that person, and with comfort comes things that you were suppressing, not on purpose, maybe by accident. Should we call it your true colors? Now, if your true colors are great, then that honeymoon phase can continue, and it can mature, and as long as you're both putting in that effort and watering the flowers, which I took from this last relationship, is pretty much keeping that plant alive and healthy, hence the relationship. What sometimes happens is neither of those, and maybe there is some sort of a honeymoon stage, but when I see couples start fighting really early on in the relationship, that's a big red flag. Some of you might think, well, doesn't that mean they've came into a mature relationship? Not really. I would say problems arise from a lot of things. Also, anything I say in this video is all opinion based. Like, there's really no factual, there could be like studies done. This is just from my experience. Like I said, my experience might help you, my opinion. If you disagree, you can let me know. I just wanna make sure you guys don't think I'm a guru on this. This is just from personal experience. So if you are already fighting that early on in the relationship, that means a couple things. A, there's less effort there. There's a lack of acceptance early on. You can't move forward when you're moving backwards or staying stagnant. Meaning, when you're in this phase, phase where you're supposed to be learning each other, figuring each other out. It's supposed to be progressive. You're supposed to move forward, which is why you eventually either mature or move out of that honeymoon stage, which, again, it's all different. But if you're fighting early on, that's gonna take a lot of time away from spending time together, sharing experiences together, figuring each other out, doing nice things for each other. Instead, you're fighting. And if you're fighting that early on in the relationship, in my personal opinion, I just think that's showing you that you quickly figured out that you guys just don't work for each other. Because it's very unlikely, in my opinion, that you are going to start your relationship fighting and end your relationship figuring out how to overcome that, and then it's all daisies from there. I haven't seen that happen. I have never really been in that situation where fights are happening early on, but I've seen it happen a lot. So that I don't have as much perspective on. Now, let's backtrack a little before I front track. That's the opposite of backtrack. Getting in a relationship. Whether you had just gotten out of a relationship, maybe you want to be single, maybe you don't want to fall into another relationship, or you're just not in a relationship, or maybe you are looking for love. I guess that maybe this doesn't apply that much. Problem I have is falling in love quickly, essentially. That was one problem I realized I had. Problem, we'll explain. And or falling in love at a time where I didn't want a relationship. I used to think that was a problem. I used to think if I fell in love too quick and then the relationship ended in general, then I thought maybe that was to blame. Maybe that was an early on problem of why the relationship ended. Or maybe I got in the relationship at the wrong time. Maybe I should have been single for longer, blah, 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 blah. The reason I can't do that, or at least I have a hard time doing that, is I'm kind of an opportunist, right? Like if you're in a position where you're looking for potentially the future wife of your kids one day, right? You could be 16. I mean, everyone wants to find love and start a family, like whatever. And you meet a really good girl that you click with and feelings start coming. I have learned, I used to think otherwise, that I don't think it's very necessary to suppress those feelings, right? Like just because the relationship in the past didn't work out doesn't mean that you didn't learn something. It doesn't mean that that was the trigger for why the relationship went wrong. It could have gone right, and that could have been the person you had a family with and grew old with. So that goes as well for falling in love by accident. I used to think that I fell in love too quick, I moved too quick. I used to think that I could slow that down. But as I learned, you can't really slow your feelings down. You can slow things down that you can control, but that would essentially just be suppressing those feelings. So don't beat yourself up if you think that initially you have an issue there. If it has to do with how your heart's feeling. If your heart's feeling a certain way, I would recommend running. That's just me. You can go otherwise. I've learned that that isn't the catalyst that ends a relationship 2 years later. I feel like I owe it to myself when my heart is in a certain place to trust my heart. Now, you also want to be logical. Don't just think with your heart, think with your brain, because sometimes when you think with your heart, emotions are not the best from a logical standpoint sometimes. So definitely think with your head, but at the same time, like I said, don't suppress feelings because you feel like it's not the time to be having those feelings. And later, I'm going to try to remind myself to get into right person, wrong time, which kind of applies to that as well. Now, moving forward, next really big topic. Guys, I know you're probably just like, wow, I didn't know there was love gurus out there that were this intelligent. I know. If you want to book me, I do therapies Monday. Therapy Monday through Friday. You can give me a call. Psych! Don't do that. This is your therapy. Another really big thing I've learned in a relationship. Each person, in my experience, has two types of personality traits, or let's call them segments, okay? Personality segments that are volatile, meaning they are always ever changing to some extent, sometimes in opposite directions, sometimes in the same direction, sometimes all over the place. And then there are core traits, essentially core values that doesn't change much. It takes a lot to change them. I guess those can go in both ways as well. And that kind of dictates how a person acts, and it dictates from how a person was raised. Changing your partner can be good and it can be bad. Now, everyone has flaws. So when you get in a relationship, and maybe you're getting out of that honeymoon stage, or maybe you're already fighting early off in the relationship, it's gonna be your natural instinct to realize in your head pros and cons of that person. Nobody's perfect. Everyone has flaws. Your first instinct is gonna be to wanna change all of those flaws because you think you don't have those flaws. Sometimes the way you view those flaws might be a flaw of your own, but your first instinct is gonna be to wanna change those flaws. Now, changing a person, or helping change a person, if you feel you are able to do so in a productive manner that doesn't put someone down, that doesn't cause arguments, it can be productive. Though, you need to figure out where those flaws you are finding stand. If those flaws stand in that person's core principles, the principles that don't change much and that may come from how they were raised, I don't think you should try to change a person on that aspect. I think if it happens by accident, maybe that person is surrounded by someone like yourself. Maybe they're surrounded by very good people that might actually sway those core principles in a better direction. Maybe there were flawed principles that came from the upbringing, or maybe there's principles that you find are flawed and that person doesn't. You need to figure out if you can deal deal with those, because those are not up to you to change, and that is not healthy for you to change a person's core values. Like I said again, it is possible if maybe one of those core values you think is a game changer for you, and you think you might have a way where you aren't targeting that person, that significant other, attacking them, maybe are able to progressively change them in a different direction. Go for it. It's tough. Now, the other principles of a person, I don't know if that's a word we were using in the beginning anymore, those are ones that are changing all the time. Those are little things. Those are things, flaws that two people are always going to find in each other. They could be pet peeves of yours. They could be the way they treat people, the way they treat you, the way they look at certain things, their views, unimportant views on like stupid shit. Maybe it's even political views, which I wouldn't recommend changing, but I would also recommend thinking twice about being with someone whose views are completely different if it trickles down into their core values. That's where it really matters. But some of these things you can change, and those are things that I think I would consider as attributes that you grow with each other, right? There's always going to be things you want to change about your other person. Can it start arguments? Absolutely. Will it start arguments? Probably. But if you can figure out your approach on those things, if you can have teamwork to talk and to have that communication where you can both approach each other about those things. You're both going to feel those things about each other. There's going to be flaws that you want to change and things that you feel the other person would be better off or would help the relationship if they worked on. Again, slippery slope. I'm a very stubborn person. I think I have a good way with words. I'm usually good at communicating and making someone feel as if I'm not attacking them. So I have found it doable in my life to help a person if I feel I'm helping them. Now, sometimes I'm not always right. Sometimes I'm not helping. Sometimes I'm making it worse. Sometimes it's something that I just shouldn't be fiddling around with, or something that I should just deal with because that person is set in their ways. But the most important part about what I just said is to never change or expect a person to change their core values. Those important principles in their lives, the things that make up their personality, deep in their personality, I don't think you should ask anyone to change. If those things don't align with what you want and you so badly want to change them, you should reconsider the relationship. Maybe that person's not for you, maybe right person, wrong time. Again, we'll get into that later. Other things you can discuss, get good with communication, not piss the person off, good luck. That is something I have learned in my relationships. Now, another thing, trust. Trust in a relationship will make or break your relationship. I think a lot of people I've experienced, maybe this is a girl thing, maybe it's because young boys are douchebags, but I've found that a lot of girls get kind of whack as they get older. I have found this problem to be more present in the female race in my experience. A lot of girls that I've met, again, this is me, this is not generalizing, feel that they have had toxic pasts or bad experiences in relationships that result in a tendency, right as they get in a relationship, to have trust issues, which is totally normal. Now, I don't agree with that concept. Again, this is going to come down to communicating with someone and having that conversation, but I think if you are someone that goes in a relationship and already has those issues, I think it's fair in a relationship, and I think this will help your relationship if you both go in with a clean slate. There is no reason not to trust someone if they haven't given you a reason not to trust them. There is no reason to act in a certain way towards this person because of a way someone in your past acted towards you. This person is not to be blamed for that, and if you have those issues coming in a relationship, either figure out how to deal with them so that that person doesn't have to deal with them, or don't get in a relationship if you're not ready to deal with those issues. I have always been the biggest supporter, and I will give you my entire trust unless you give me a reason not to. So if you ever break your trust, well then you'll have the opportunity to either figure out maybe this isn't for you, or you now have to gain my trust back. I think as long as you go in a relationship realizing and giving that person the benefit of the doubt, that is the most fair situation for both partners, in my experience. Now, another thing I am gonna say, this is something so important, and this could apply to your life, not just your relationship. Intentions are everything. Everyone says stupid shit at some point in their life. Girls can be sensitive, guys can be sensitive, everyone can be sensitive. Not everyone is sensitive. I'm just saying there might be a time when you're in a relationship where one person is extremely sensitive and one isn't. If you are one of those sensitive people and you have found that in your relationship people hurt you a lot by their words, by the things they say, and if you're someone that has accidentally hurt someone when you had good intent and no matter what you said or did, that person believed your intentions were bad or they didn't care about your intentions, they just took what came at them and took it the wrong way. This is what I've learned because I've dealt with this a lot. I always have good intentions. If my intentions came off badly, that was an accident. I am just a good person. Okay, I'm not perfect. If someone walks up to me and socks me in the face, my intentions in that moment to whatever follows are bad. Yes. In a relationship, my intentions are usually great. Usually. Again, I want to clarify and I want to clear up because I kind of made myself sound perfect. I am not perfect. There's times I've been passive aggressive. There's times I've said things that I clearly had negative intent when saying and I regretted saying them, blah, 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 blah. But for the most part, my intentions are always pure. And a lot of times, if you are a sensitive person, we are human beings. Something goes in here, a thought process is in here, and it tells this thing just about as fast as it can to blurt it out, and it figures out whether or not it wants to say it or not, and blurts it out. A lot of people like me, that process goes a little quicker. I don't take as much time on what I'm thinking before I say it, something I work on, and sometimes I just blurt it out. Things can come out wrong. This has caused problems for me in my relationships from time to time. Not serious problems, but it's caused arguments. Times where I've said things that I didn't mean in that certain manner that it was interpreted as, and both parties get upset. One gets upset because they feel that I said something rude, and the other person, as myself, gets upset because my intentions were not the way the other person took it. And I think if this sensitive party, sensitive person relationship can be more understanding of a person's intent, that can help their relationship a ton, especially if they're a sensitive person. From someone who is with a sensitive person, be like me and try to work on thinking before you speak or thinking before you act a little more so that that person doesn't have to think of the intent as much, because it's really tough for most people to do that. It's tough for people to have perspective and put themselves in your shoes to think about how they were trying to make you feel versus how you ended up feeling. That's just something that I would tell everyone. Dude, this is a f***ing long video. Jeez, I have great advice. That's something huge that I've learned in my life. Moving on. Right person, wrong time. I have a lot of friends, I've probably been in this situation too and not realized it, where two people's current life situations, mental situations, family situations, are causing the relationship stress. The stress in the relationship is causing problems. But the core foundation of that relationship is actually really good. Two people might be really good for each other. Everything but the issues that arise from those life circumstances might be good, but those life circumstances are causing problems that are actually detrimental to the relationship. Maybe your significant other's going off to college and you think the next 4 years of that relationship are going to be miserable. I believe that you shouldn't allow that to play out. I think if that really is the right person for you, you should think and consider that maybe right now isn't the right time for the relationship. Maybe those family issues need to be solved. Maybe those mental issues need to be solved. Maybe that person's not in the place to be in a relationship. Maybe that person deserves to go to college and not have the stress of thinking about that significant other the entire time they're there, or making decisions based off of the significant other, or purposefully leaving themselves out of situations in respect to that significant other who's maybe in another state. Maybe you're doing long distance. I think if that person's the right person, you might even split up, get another relationship, and realize even more through that relationship that that first person was the right person for you. But I think trying to make the relationship work at a time when all the factors are against you isn't worth it, especially if you genuinely both feel that that person is the right person for you. I know this sounds a little contradicting to kind of give up on something that you think is good, but I'm only saying this if the circumstances around these situations that I mentioned are really, really affecting the relationship. If a relationship, this is another huge topic within this topic, if a relationship takes more than it gives, why are you in that relationship? Contradicts the entire point of a relationship. You're not in a relationship to make your life worse. You are in a relationship to make your life better. Or else we would not date. We would not form relationships with other people and start families with someone that makes our lives worse. We wouldn't have kids if they made our lives worse, even though some people really make you think that it made their lives worse, which is flawed. That is something to think about if you were in that situation where you feel certain circumstances of relationship are taking more than they are giving, and it still is that right person. It might just be the right person, wrong time. And I know it's tough to let go. People are so blind when they're in love. I've been there, and I've dealt with a lot of people that I felt were making terrible decisions because they were in love, and every conversation, every hour I've wasted with those people, it goes in one ear and it goes out the other because they're gonna do what they wanna do because they're in love. That might just be a tip for you if you have friends that are in love or in a relationship that maybe you don't think is a healthy relationship. This will bring me to my last topic. Besides watering the flowers, like I said, if you're in a relationship, always care for the relationship. You need to prioritize the relationship. If work is taking a lot of time from you, if you maybe value work more than the relationship, then you need to cut that relationship off. And if you value the relationship as much as work, then you need to find a better balance. So you always need to pay attention to how you're making that person feel, how you're feeling, and always use your perspective to go back to when it started to think about the amount of effort you put in then, and if you're still putting that amount of effort in now. Actually, I'm gonna end the video here. It's super long. If you guys like this video, this was kind of just dating advice. I can make an entire video on breakup advice. Again, I've dated 3 times, 3 big relationships, very mature relationships, I feel, and I've learned a lot, but I've also had 3 breakups, obviously. So if you guys like this video, I'll make another video. I just want to bring value to you guys, make a video that was like not comedic because I'm not just a funny guy, but I'm pretty damn. Just felt like in this time, I feel like a love doctor. Thinking about love a lot. I'm obviously analyzing my life because there's a big life change, so I figured I would help out anyone in need. Maybe if you're in a relationship, maybe if you have a great relationship in the future, maybe even looking back on something that you feel you're not over, or you need a little bit of clarity, something that's still bothering you from an old relationship, or understanding why it went wrong, how it went wrong, maybe that helps. Second channel I told you guys recently, it's called Jobo. It is for me to get around YouTube's algorithm that hates me. I love you guys. I hope this brought some sort of value to you, and let me know if you guys want that breakup video. If not, I am happy to not make it. So I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.